I've come to a clear realization. Cole lacks both responsibility and compassion. It's now undeniable that I must take control of the situation. I've made the decision to stay in my parents' house, and Cole will have to leave. From the time we got married, Cole has relied on me for everything. Despite my efforts, including paying $4,000 a month for rent, he's now trying to push me out of my own home. This is the point where I draw the line. For months I've considered divorce, but Cole's selfishness and cruel comments have only cemented my choice. I told him firmly, "I'll leave, but for now, you need to go." Immediately. His response was a shrug and, "Fine, I'll be out tonight and back tomorrow evening, just make sure you're gone by then." His arrogance was astounding. I asked him, "Don't you care to know what I might take with me?" He nonchalantly replied, "Don't touch my stuff. You can do whatever you want with the rest." His dismissive attitude shocked me, but it also strengthened my resolve. If he's giving me free rein with everything else, I'm going to make the most of it. Maybe it's time Cole faces the consequences of his actions. I've already begun planning. If necessary, I'll hire a removal service to pack my belongings, while Cole will finally experience the repercussions of his behavior. For context, I'm Mia, a 31-year-old graduate of a prestigious program, and I work as a researcher at a well-regarded company. My career is stable, and my salary is decent for my age. With that income, I can afford to live in a luxurious apartment that costs $4,000 per month. On the surface, my life looks perfect, great job, lovely home, and a family, including my husband Cole and our son Kai. To an outsider, it may seem like I have it all. I'm aware that many people face hardships, some struggling to meet basic needs, without shelter or family. In many ways, I'm fortunate, and I appreciate that. However, my life isn't as ideal as it might appear. The $4,000 rent is a significant strain on our finances. Even with my stable income, it puts a lot of pressure on us. What makes it worse is Cole's refusal to contribute. If he had a real job, we wouldn't be in this financial bind. But at 32, Cole is still chasing his dream of becoming a musician. I once admired his ambition. In his early days, he was somewhat popular, performing at events and live shows. But let's face it, entertaining a few hundred people here and there doesn't pay the bills. His part-time job income is unpredictable, and his dream of stardom seems increasingly unrealistic. Meanwhile, I bear the burden of everything. Rather than working to secure a stable future for our family, Cole is clinging to his dream while I handle the reality of life. He dismisses my concerns as nagging, responding to my mention of finances with, "You sound like an old woman with all your complaining." But I'm not complaining, I'm simply stating the facts. I've been patient, understanding, and supportive. But my patience is gone. I've carried the weight of our marriage and family long enough. Cole's unwillingness to change has forced me to make a decision. Divorce is no longer just a possibility. It's now the only path forward. I deserve a life free from constant worry over rent and belittling remarks. My son Kai and I deserve more. It's time for me to prioritize my own well-being and move on from a relationship that's only holding me back. Ultimately, I know this is the best decision. I am capable of building a secure and fulfilling life for myself and my son without Cole dragging us down. If that means starting anew, then so be it. This is my chance to regain my independence and create a future where I can finally feel content. When I was younger, I saw Cole shine as he chased his dreams. He seemed amazing, full of promise. When I got pregnant, he said, "I'll work hard for our future child." I was only 20 when we got married and started a family. I thought getting married meant he would give up his music dreams and focus on building a life with us. At first, I felt bad for questioning his choice to stick with part-time jobs and his dream of music. I didn't want to make him feel like he had to give it all up for the family. But after our child was born, everything changed. Cole still kept going with his music and part-time work as if nothing had happened. I couldn't take it anymore. One day I warned him, "How long do you plan to keep working part-time jobs? You're almost 32. People your age are building careers." Cole just replied, "I have my own way of living. Don't compare me to others." I couldn't believe his answer. Your words sound good, but they don't mean anything. If you want to talk about living your way, then start by helping out with the household expenses. He tried to justify himself by saying, "When I become famous, I'll make up for the money I'm not earning right now." I snapped back, "Stop dreaming and face reality." Cole had no answer to that. Eventually, he took up a part-time job, but even then, it wasn't enough. Earning $2,500, or even $133,000 a month would have helped. But Cole didn't stop talking about his dreams. "You're being too noisy," he'd say. "Times have changed. There are lots of ways to succeed without signing with an agency. I'm not just streaming anymore. It's just that my name isn't well known yet. Companies hold all the power in advertising, but I'm making progress, even if it's slow." I didn't know how to respond. It's all so confusing to me. When will he realize it's all just an illusion? Cole's band already broke up, and the other members have moved on. Some got married, and others found steady jobs. I think Cole should do the same, but he says things like, "Giving up your dreams is pathetic." I don't see it that way. I think choosing to give up your dreams for the sake of your family is a meaningful and responsible decision. Is that so wrong? When I was pregnant, Cole promised he'd work hard for our child, but now I see what he really meant. He'd keep working hard at his music career. I keep hoping that as our child grows, Cole will finally face reality. "Did you buy expensive clothes again?" I asked. "Looking good is important for my job," he replied. I couldn't believe it. He hasn't made a single dollar for music yet, and here he is talking like he's a star. It's been 11 years since our child was born, and Cole is still working part-time. Now, at almost 32, he spent years chasing his music dreams without any real success or achievements. Instead of earning money, he spends more and more on expensive clothes and music equipment. "I wish you'd spend less on those things and contribute a bit to the household," I told him. "You can't satisfy hunger with pretense," he snapped back. "These things are necessary for me." Because of his attitude, we argue a lot. We try to have these discussions when our child isn't home or move to another room, but the apartment is small, so he often overhears us if we raise our voices. That's one reason we're considering moving to a bigger place. As our son, Kai, grows, this apartment will only feel more cramped. Kai is 11 now, and this place is getting a bit cramped. "What do you think about moving?" I asked Cole. "Yeah, this was your place to begin with, right? You lived here before we got married," he replied. "Do you have a problem with that?" I asked. "No, it's not a problem," he said. "But I'd like to move somewhere bigger. Maybe a high-rise condo. That would be awesome." "And who's going to pay for it?" I inquired. "I'll help with the household expenses," he said. "You handle the rent, and I'll cover the electricity, gas, and groceries. Please, I really want to live in a high-rise condo." With my salary, moving to a high-rise condo was within reach. I was even somewhat encouraged by Cole's offer to contribute, even if it was a small gesture. Maybe this was the nudge he needed to grasp the value of money and face reality. "All right," I said. "I'll look for a place, but since I'm covering the rent, I get to choose where we live." "Deal?" "Deal," he agreed. "As long as it's a high-rise condo, I'm fine with whatever you pick." I hoped this new move would bring positive change, but it didn't turn out that way. A year after we settled into the condo, Cole was still chasing his music dreams at 32, and he hadn't followed through on any of the promises he made when we moved in. "Hey, the gas bill came," I reminded him. "Make sure you pay it before it's deducted from my account." "I'll get it to you next time," he said dismissively, once again failing to take responsibility. "I don't have the money right now." "When is next time?" "You always say that, but it never happens. You're always making excuses. Do you not understand how important money is?" I asked. "All you ever do is complain about money," he replied, brushing me off. "I'm just asking for the bare minimum to cover our bills. Why do I have to keep reminding you about this?" I said, frustrated. He had promised to help with the bills, but those promises seemed hollow. Luckily, I had set up automatic payments for critical expenses like electricity and gas, or else Cole might not have paid them at all. Once in a while, though, he did leave a little money behind. I remember finding $100 on the living room table once when he wasn't home. It wasn't even close to enough, but I thought maybe he was too embarrassed to give it to me directly. For a moment, I entertained the idea that maybe, just maybe, he was trying to show he cared. That thought didn't last long. I still hadn't received my share of the electricity bill for the month. "I do pay sometimes, don't I?" Cole argued when I pointed this out. It felt like he was leaving small amounts of money behind just to make himself feel better about not contributing properly. And then there were the lies. One day he asked, "I want to take my parents on a trip. Can you lend me some money?" "How much do you need?" I asked. "About $100 should be enough," he said. I gave it to him, but deep down, I knew he wasn't actually planning a trip. Cole has a habit of lying when he needs extra cash. I know this, and he knows I know, but we still go through the motions. I suspect he uses the money for his friends or to show off. Meanwhile, the rent for our high-rise condo is $4,000 a month. It's been this way for 5 years, and I've been struggling to make ends meet. I thought moving here might motivate Cole to take work more seriously, but he's continued to let me down. I can't save any money in this situation, and I'd much rather use that money for something meaningful like securing our child's future or saving for retirement. I had thought about divorce before, but now, I'm seriously considering it. Then Cole said something that made the decision clear. "Hey, we have an unused room, right?" I was thinking of clearing out the unused room and making it a space for my parents. "What do you think?" Cole asked. "A room for your parents? Are you saying they'd move in with us? Why are you suddenly bringing this up?" I asked, surprised. "My parents are getting older, we can't just leave them alone," Cole said, trying to sound noble. But I know Cole. He always talks big, but he can't follow through. Who does he think is paying the $4,000 rent for this high-rise condo? I'm also the one covering all the living expenses and our son's education. The idea of being forced to live with my in-laws on top of all this is completely unacceptable. "I'm against it," I replied firmly. "Don't answer so quickly. Think about it for a while," he said. "I have thought about it. My answer is no," I said again. "Why are you being so stubborn? What's wrong with taking care of your parents? Are you telling me to abandon mine?" "You're heartless," he snapped. To someone just listening to this conversation, I might sound selfish, but that's not true. The problem isn't his parents, it's Cole. If his parents move in, I know exactly what will happen. Cole will dump all the responsibility of taking care of them on me. I'm already doing everything for this household. I cannot and will not take on even more. "I will not live with your parents," I said firmly. Cole glared at me. "I see how heartless you are. Fine, I'll live here with my parents, so you need to leave," he said angrily. I couldn't believe it. Ever since we got married, Cole has been completely dependent on me, and now he's trying to kick me out of the house even though I'm the one paying the $4,000 rent every month. His words made me realize how helpless and irresponsible he truly is. I've been considering divorce for a while, but now I'm sure. His unreasonable demands and selfishness have made my decision clear. "Fine, I'll leave the house," I said. "Good. Pack your things and get out quickly. I'm going out now, but I'll be back tomorrow evening. Be gone by then," he said coldly. "Are you sure you don't want to check what I'm taking with me?" I asked. "Don't touch my equipment. Do whatever you want with the rest," he replied before leaving the house. Now that Cole was gone, I realized I was free to handle everything in the house as I pleased. As I stood there thinking, my 15-year-old son Kai came out of his room. "Mom, I'll help you pack, and I'll go with you too," he said softly, trying to comfort me. It broke my heart. Whenever Cole and I fought, Kai would quietly go to another room to avoid the tension. As a parent, it hurts me deeply that my child feels like he has to tiptoe around these situations. When Kai was younger, he loved playing with his dad and didn't understand what was really happening, But as he grew older, he began to see the truth. Now he supports me in ways no child should have to. "Where should we start, Mom?" Kai asked. "Start with your own things," I said. "I have something else to handle. I just want to give him a little shock," I thought as I grabbed my phone and made a call. "Hello, I'm sorry for the last-minute request, but could you help us tomorrow?" After packing up what we needed, my son and I decided to stay in a business hotel for a while with just the essentials. We would have to find a new place to live soon. That evening, knowing Cole would call, I placed my phone on the table and waited. When it rang, Kai and I looked at each other, and I picked it up. "Hey, what's going on?" "Where are you doing?" Cole shouted on the other end. "What do you mean?" "What's the problem?" I asked calmly. "All my clothes and equipment are here, but everything else is gone. Where are the tables, the fridge? Did you take them?" "No," I replied. "I called a junk removal service to get rid of everything. By now, it's probably already been burned." "Kai, are you there too?" Cole asked, sounding even more panicked. When Kai spoke up, Cole seemed completely caught off guard. He probably didn't expect Kai to still be around and was shocked to find the house nearly empty. "What do you mean everything's gone? The furniture and appliances? Those are marital properties," he said angrily. "You told me I could do whatever I wanted with everything except your equipment," I reminded him. "So I did just that." "How am I supposed to live now?" Cole asked, his voice full of frustration. "If you need furniture, you can buy new ones. For now, maybe use your amp as a chair or wrap your guitar in a towel for a pillow," I replied with a hint of sarcasm. "That's not funny. How could you do something so nasty?" he snapped. "We're getting a divorce," I said firmly. "Yes, I understand," Cole replied. He sounded like he expected me to be shaken by the mention of divorce. Maybe he thought this was just another argument that would eventually blow over, but I had already made up my mind. His words didn't scare me. They only made me feel more certain about my decision. In fact, I was almost relieved that he brought it up. "Really? You understand we're getting a divorce?" I repeated, making sure he knew I was serious. "You don't have to say it so many times." "I understand," I said coldly and calmly, making it clear that this was final. Cole must have realized that the divorce would hurt him more than it would hurt me. He seemed flustered, unsure of what to say next. Normally, he'd apologize and back down, but this time he couldn't. Maybe it's his stubborn pride as a musician. He can't admit defeat. But I know Cole too well. Once he says something, he doesn't take it back, even if he regrets it. At first, Cole acted like he had everything under control, but now it all seems ridiculous. "We'll talk about the details of the divorce later," I said. "You're planning to live in this house with your parents, right? Should I go to the real estate agent first to update the contract?" Cole hesitated. "Yeah, but if the contract is changed to my name, the divorce can't be undone. This is your chance to apologize," he said, his voice shaky. It felt like a weak last-ditch attempt to stop what was happening. Maybe he thought my decision to get rid of the furniture and appliances was part of some master plan to force a divorce. But after 15 years of frustration, my feelings weren't going to change so easily. Deep down, I wished he would face the consequences a bit more. A few days later, Cole and I went to the real estate office to review the new condo contract. I smoothly wrapped up my part of the agreement. It was quick and straightforward. But when it was Cole's turn to sign the new contract, a big problem arose. "What? The rent is $4,500? Cole's face turned pale. "When I first signed the contract for the high-rise condo, I handled everything, choosing the property, negotiating, and signing the paperwork while Cole stayed uninvolved. He never asked about the details, so he had no idea how expensive it was. "There's no way I can pay that rent even if my parents help," Cole said, shocked. Apparently, after I left, Cole thought he could rely on his parents to share the cost. He assumed that between the three of them they could manage, but the rent was far higher than he expected. His parents are retired, living on pensions, and Cole works part-time with an unstable income. It was clear they couldn't afford it. "I've been paying this much every month?" Cole asked, still stunned. "Yes," I replied. "I've been paying it because you don't work. We haven't been able to save anything." "I can't handle a contract like this," Cole admitted. "Don't worry," I said calmly. "I don't think you can handle it either." "What do you mean?" Cole asked, confused. He seemed so overwhelmed that he couldn't even grasp the basics of renting a property. I turned to the real estate agent. "Excuse me, is it possible for someone with an irregular income of $2,500 per month to qualify for this contract if their parents cover the difference?" The agent shook his head. "No, that would be very difficult. The applicant needs to have a stable income to qualify." I looked at Cole. "See? I told you it wouldn't work. You wouldn't pass the screening." Cole sat in stunned silence, realizing for the first time just how out of his depth he was. The agent, who had overheard, probably sensed that we were nearing the end of our relationship. He gave a small, awkward smile but didn't say much. "So, what do I do now?" Cole asked. "If you can't sign the contract, you have no choice but to leave," I said. "There's no other option since I've already canceled my part of the contract." Cole looked shocked. "Wow, you've done something ridiculous again." Cole, who likes to call himself an artist, doesn't have much self-esteem but loves to show off. This must have been an enormous embarrassment for him. With his low income, our pending divorce, and now being outsmarted by me in front of the agent, his face flushed red and sweaty, like he had just run a marathon in the summer. Ignoring him, I continued talking to the agent. "Since the contract can't go through, we'll need to move out right away, right? I'm sorry for the trouble, but we don't have much left in the house, mostly clothes and music equipment. It shouldn't take long to clean up. Can you guide me through the moving out process?" Cole interrupted. "You knew I didn't understand the rent or the conditions of the house, and you still went ahead with all of this." "What do you mean?" I asked. "If you wanted to review the contract, you would have. You said you'd handle it yourself." "Whether you knew about my income or not, I thought there might still be a way to make it work," Cole said, clearly frustrated. "Don't be ridiculous," I replied calmly. "I'm not leaving," Cole insisted. "If you don't leave, I'll have to call the police." I responded, "I don't know the legal details, but you could be sued for trespassing or refusing to vacate. Since this isn't my property anymore, the real estate agency or the owner might get involved. It could get messy if a company reports it." The agent looked increasingly uncomfortable as Cole stood there in silence. "You don't want to embarrass yourself any further, do you? Go home and pack your things," I told Cole. Without a word, Cole left the real estate office. I turned to the agent. "I'm sorry for all the trouble. The house will be empty soon. If anything is left behind, I'll take care of disposing of it later." When the agent and I went to the condo, it was already empty. To make up for the awkward situation, I brought some sweets to the real estate office as an apology. The process itself went smoothly, but I could tell the agent was still a little confused by everything that had happened. I'm truly sorry about how things turned out, but this situation brought Cole, the dreamy musician, back to reality. Now, he had no choice but to face the world as it is. After he left the house, our divorce was officially finalized. Since neither of us had much money, me spending most of mine on rent and him earning barely enough to get by, there was no dispute over dividing assets. My son decided to stay with me. As for my ex-husband, he likely thought he could rely on his parents for support, but I had already shut that door. After being married for about 11 years, I reached out to my in-laws to inform them about the divorce and say my goodbyes. I thought it was only right to keep them in the loop about what was happening. When my in-laws found out about everything Cole had done, they decided to step back and stop supporting him. They told him they wouldn't help him anymore until he found a stable job and became independent. Because of this, his plan to move in with them fell apart. Now, at over 32 years old, Cole is struggling to secure a regular job. After living as a freelancer for so long, he continues to work freelance, but his income remains very low. He can barely afford rent for a small, cheap apartment, and pursuing his music career is nearly impossible in this situation. This is the reality for my ex-husband, a man who has achieved nothing. As for me, I've rented a new apartment where my son and I now live. Without my ex-husband, the rent is much more affordable, and I can use my money for more meaningful purposes. While I don't criticize others for following their dreams, I found happiness in creating a comfortable and stable life for my son and me. This is what truly matters to me now,